Hello everyone, hope you're all well. Morning. As always, let me know if you can't see or hear the stream properly. I'm going to assume it's running okay. What is wrong with my everything seems to be lagging. I hope everything runs smoothly today. I'm always paranoid. I'll just wait for about 10 seconds because the stream has a bit of a lag, about 20 seconds, just to sort of see if you guys can hear me properly. Loud and clear, beautiful. Okay. As always, I'll be talking about my recent video mostly. If you guys have any questions about that. Remember, if you want to ask a question in the stream, on the right-hand side, I always have to say the opposite. Your right, my left. Make sure you write a whole bunch of emojis before your question, just so I can see them. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I was really pleased that the last video about the way I was describing letting go of negative thinking, how I go about it, stimulated a lot of thought and comments. And I'm sure you guys know I'm not trying to be airy fairy and new agey about this stuff. I'm trying to maybe offer something practical, how you can get out of that mental loop of frustrating yourself and overthinking things. And you know, the best thing is if you could stop trying to fight whatever you're overthinking and just let the thing go, because it's actually a waste of time. You can't do anything about it in the moment. You're just frustrating yourself. That's the stuff I was talking about. I'll read there was one comment I copied from the recent video that I thought was worth reading out. Was by Wayne, and he said, "I have found that when there is a disappointment, one thing that helps me is to learn something. Simple things like learning to change the oil in our vehicle, learning to fix the leaky faucet, learning to fix that broken wall switch. You'd be amazed what you can do, and the feeling from being able to do it, what you learn, and what you may want to take on next. I can do electrical, plumbing, carpentry, building PCs, etc. You name it, I can just about do it now. Start simple and build on it. It's a great feeling. To hell with relationships with women that will lead you to an early grave. And yes, look at my little profile icon. I did build that fire pit by myself. There is a huge retaining wall in the background. I built that too. Yeah, it's... Thanks for that, Wayne. It's... once you can get past that initial speed hump of all those feelings, you've gone through heartbreak, whatever you've been through right at the start, it's really hard to pretend it's not there. I get it. You can't just wish it's not there. You can't, Rambo style, pretend the pain's not there. But if you can at least maybe even distract yourself with something to drag you away from being in your head, that's a good thing. So I know for me, I'd go for a walk or a jog, or I'd, that's why I say talk to people, be around friends. Uh, don't, because initially when you go through stuff, the impulse and the desire is to be completely in your head and stay in there. But unfortunately, the voice in your head is often not a good person. We like to make ourselves feel bad. It's a usually it's a very sadistic voice in your head. It likes to remind you of what you've lost, why you feel bad, why you missed her, how you screwed up, all those kind of things. That voice that you're alone with in your head usually isn't your best friend that's talking to you well. A bird just landed on... Oh, no, it's gone away. Better Man Channel, he says, how much do you think we base our ideas in the interpretations of those before us, as in our everyday habits, are based on the previous generation's interpretations of life values and utility? Well, these days I'd say not too much. We actually don't value previous generations' experiences and interpretations very much. We think we know so much better. And look, it's normal for someone young to break free and forge their own path. But I've noticed the last couple of generations, there's this real throwing away of the old ways, of laughing at old people, whereas there used to be much more of a respect. Like, your parents respected elders, we'd respect parents, we'd respect elders even more so, even if we didn't know why, because, we don't live with them, we live with mum and dad, but we have to really respect these elder people that are almost strangers or are strangers. We have to respect them almost like the king and queen. And now we think we're really smart. We don't need anyone. They've gotten rid of religion. I think the vast majority of people need religion because they're not philosophically minded. They find it boring. Like, all this thinking, is a waste of time and BS. So I think the majority of people are sheep, and they need a leader like a religion. I'd wish it weren't so. In a utopian fashion, most people would like, I wish everyone was like me. I wish everyone could think for themselves. I wish everyone was responsible. And look, I'm not perfect. I drop the ball on responsibility all the time. My biology leads me. But I do have maybe it's a natural interest, an inclination towards intellectual curiosity and to figure things out and to be responsible. But most people don't. You talk to them. I start to talk to someone, even scratching the surface of some sort of depth in a conversation, and they kind of look at you weird, like, "Okay, dude, you're overthinking things a bit." And it's like, okay, most people are sheep. So when you get rid of a mature organizing principle like religion of the past that tried to keep people in check, and I'm not saying you believe in all the divinity and all that kind of walking on water stuff, but the very basic stuff like, love thy neighbor, how you treat people, the golden rule, right, wrong, all that sort of stuff, it sort of matures the child brain towards some sort of maturity. Whereas today it's like, no, you can stay a child. You see a lot of people my age, they resemble a 5-year-old. I just feel how I feel and I emote how I emote. And if you don't like it, it's bad luck. How many people have you heard through your life? It's like, I'm this way. If people don't like it, they can stick it. As though you're the center of the universe. You don't have to relate to people in the world around you. You can be as wasteful and as rude as possible. How many screaming kids do you see at shopping centers where the parents don't care how they affect the environment around them, how they're affecting the ears of people around them? And you can't say anything. And you're not allowed to discipline your kids. Well, a couple of regular faces. Hey guys, hey Quaz. Perplexity says, this has been plaguing me for a while. I've been apathetic in terms of finding a relationship, never had one, but now I'm a little curious. Is seeking one worth it? How can I overcome my apathy? I always think if you have to ask very, very important questions that your will needs to drive you in, like, should I do this? Should I choose this direction in life? Should I love this? How can I tell you what to love? How can I tell you what to desire? When people like say, they ask a complete stranger, they come, they throw me an email and they say, here's the situation, should I leave my wife? You are asking a complete stranger on the internet. And I'm humbled that you think that I can give you the answer, but if you're already asking the question, I would say maybe not, or you already know the question and you're asking for confirmation from me, for someone like-minded that will probably agree with you, because I can only hear your side of the story, and if you're polite and you're a nice person, I'll tend to agree with you. But I find it a curious question when you say, you've never had a relationship, is it worth one? All I'd say is, if you're leaning in the direction of curiosity that you want to see, why not? But keep your boundaries and stay frosty, as Hicks would have said in Aliens. Quasimandias says, there is a take from Chinese philosophy that claims worry is a crime of hubris, meaning that it comes from assuming you know what is actually best for you. Yeah, it's that survival brain warning you of all it knows is the past. If you're safe yesterday, you are going to procrastinate and make today a blueprint of yesterday and do nothing. You don't like change because you want to stay safe, because non-change keeps you alive with your survival instinct. Or if you're in pain yesterday, you felt something, you're going to keep overthinking the past because you don't want it to happen again. And you think you can predict the future because you want to be safe. I think that's a big reason why, especially in the last generation, not minimalism, the kind of the glib cliche saying of modern pop spiritualities, be in the moment, man, be in the moment. And it's code for most lazy and selfish people today is just do what you want with no consequences. But what I think it's really saying is people's need for, they can feel that they're living mentally in the past all the time, in regret, or they're always trying to predict the future. And they're never actually here grabbing hold of anything, like smelling the roses, engaging in a conversation with someone, really enjoying this moment here on the 31st of October, having a conversation with Joe, Bob, or Mary, really, really being conscious and present, and really absorbing this. And because I've been there a few times where I've really had a really great time with friends, or I've had a moment where I've been somewhere, and I've actually thought, like, this will never happen again. Soak all this up. This is a great moment. Really, like, listen to everything, like, turn your volume up of senses, human, and really absorb every sight and sound and everything, because this is really wonderful. This will never happen again. This day, this will never happen. These people, this moment won't happen. You'll be thinking about this later on as a memory, as a snapshot. Absorb this snapshot in real time. You'll always have mental photographs of this, and you'll be talking about, but really live it right now. Laugh, smile, talk. I've even told people in those moments, like, this will never happen again. Quad says, sailboats fix all of this. One ocean passage involving having a near-death experience every 20 seconds for about a week permanently burns out the fussy circuits. That's brilliant. Yeah. It's like you're always forced to be in the moment. This is why a lot of people are adrenaline junkies. They do base jumping, they skydive. Because when you force yourself to be in the moment, like jumping out of a plane, being near death, you cannot, like, if your family just got killed in a car crash and your home is going to be repossessed and you're homeless, the moment you jump off a cliff or out of a plane, all your whole body thinks about is now. What the F is going on now? You cannot even force yourself to think of your taxes or the death of a family member. I think that's why I'm pretty much know that's one of the central mechanisms why people are into extreme sports, because it forces them into that hyper adrenalized moment of holding on to life in the most tactile and potent way possible. Like you feel alive, all your senses are buzzing. You're not thinking of the past, you're not thinking of the future. It's like, holy F, now. This is whatever. You can't even form words. I wouldn't be able to speak. You know, people kind of say, oh, well, you speak eloquently. Like, I would be a mess of words. I wouldn't be able to form words. I'll be complete, like even language would go out the window. It would just be primal screaming. If we had a barometer where we could measure how alive we felt and in the moment, most of us barely get above point something. We never get to full single digits if it goes from 1 to 10. Maybe sometimes people get a little high when you know, they have a child, or you know, they're in the bedroom with their partner, or they're really in love for the first time or something. But most of the times we're almost flatlining. We're barely alive. But that barometer would be hitting 10 when you jump out of a plane, or you stand on top of Everest or something, or as Quaz mentioned, you're on a boat and death is constantly being tickled. What's the saying? You're never more alive than when you're close to death or when you cheat death. I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. Tony, thank you very much for the super chat donation. He says, human, thank you for the therapy. I listen to you on my daily walk at the beach. Cool. Yeah, walks on the beach are... there's kind of a, you know, those relational psychology questions. They're really great to know yourself, but also to know other people. They're great, fun questions I've used on dates to kind of get a sense of the person's character. You know, are you a beach person or are you a mountain person? Those kind of things, just to get a rounded version of a person's character, not to kind of really judge. You can go to extremes. There are sociopathic questions around as well, but yeah, walking on the beach or walking in the forest, they're both great, but each of them give you a very, very different mode, a very, very different feeling. Black Magic 1087 said, Stardust had the same idea about people who actually need the matrix or prefer it over knowing themselves or greater truths in life. The perception of comfort and stability is more appealing. Yeah, I've heard it said differently. I agree. And there's also a similar concept where most people don't want the truth. They only want positive truths. Most people, and this is a confronting reality and truth, most people don't want truth. They want comfort. And so in terms of spirituality and this kind of philosophical thinking, most people, they're not in it for awareness. They're in it for comfort. They want their biases confirmed. I won't listen to them, like, that's a bit antagonizing, that thought. This eloquent person, you know, you watch a YouTube channel where someone you can tell is clearly intelligent and they're talking about something that's resisting what you believe in, what your internal Bible is. So I think a lot of people are really not into stoicism or philosophy or introspection or anything really for awareness at all. They're in it for comfort. What can I hear? What can you tell me? But in the moment I say something that slays one of their sacred cows, all of a sudden they hate human because I said something negative. You know, oh, human just said he's open to maybe dating someone in the future. Like, I hate him now. Like, I didn't tell you to date anyone. If I'm actually telling you a point of view of mine that doesn't perfectly match with yours, what can I tell you, man? Are you going your way, or am I your doppelganger? Am I your stand-in for you actually living in life and making your own decisions? Like all the people I admire, that's why I don't really argue with many people. I get along with most people online who have YouTube channels, who I talk to. If you're civil, I actually welcome someone with slightly different points of view. Obviously, if you've got a completely different view of life that I find obnoxious and I really can't converse with you at all, it's different. But for people that can talk sensibly and have different views, whatever it might be, you might be more left-leaning than me, more right-leaning than me. You might be, you got people who are like carnivores versus vegetarians versus. My thing is, as long as you can have a civil conversation and learn the art of live and let live. What's the word? Not curbing your enthusiasm, but sort of holding back your impulses and being able to be civil and have a conversation with someone who may not be someone you could be a friend with, but you can have an interesting conversation. You don't just talk in an echo chamber. You're able to talk with everyone, and then you're better able to know yourself. What better way, like say for instance, you really believe in A, B, and C, and someone else believes in X, Y, and Z. And you say, I'm not going to talk with that person, even though we both talk about the same kind of topics, right? So if you really believe what you believe in, talking with this person that ostensibly is going to challenge some of your thinking, I always find it interesting, because if I believe what I believe in, a conversation with an oppositional person, as long as they're civil, will only confirm what I believe in and will justify what I believe to be true. So what am I afraid of? That they will expose that what I believe in is complete BS? Then I should actually modify my behavior. So you should want to talk with all kinds of people that are at least interesting, even if they don't believe in what you believe in. If you can both talk about the same topic civilly, because you may learn something new and you may sharpen your opinion. It's like if I love something or someone, why would I be afraid of talking to someone that's going to challenge whether I love that person or that thing? Then I'm actually afraid if what I love is a lie. That's what you're afraid of. You should not be afraid of having conversations about your sacred cows, because if you really embrace them and love them, what are you afraid of? That they're going to make you see that your worldview is a deck of cards. Alpha Sigma 1914, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, I wish I could do that, be present. I think it's a hard thing when people kind of really mystify it. It's, like I said, you've got to find ways to think about this stuff that work for you. When people say be present, I know what it means for me. It's switching off, trying to control everything with thinking, because I have a very large mechanism that loves doing that. I overthink everything. I find it really enjoyable, but it's not enjoyable when you're in pain and your brain just wants to think about the pain and there's no way to fix it other than time will let it dissipate and be something in your rearview mirror that you can dispassionately look back like as a learning thing. But being present is just kind of a lot of people that find it hard because they're in their head all the time. And I can imagine why it's even harder today. Most people just live online. They're constantly in their solipsistic heads. Meditation might help because most people aren't used to sort of listening in a conversation, being there, observing another person, appreciating there's something else beyond them. Today, because people aren't used to a civil conversation and having the live and let live attitude, they're not used to the golden rule. of treat others as I would want to be treated. Everyone's conditioned today in a narcissistic fashion online to be, no, it's my view and I fight everyone. And that's the only way I can feel safe, is to shout and troll and force everyone to be in my little bubble, whatever bubble I found myself in or whatever group. And everyone else is wrong and we're right. There is, look, and here's another mechanism of letting go. There is no right and wrong. There are no solutions, guys. There are only choices. And yes, okay, there's kind of general right and wrong in terms of what will help us get along. You know, you don't meet people and intentionally just try and fight them or whatever. But it's about accepting or letting go that everyone's different. Stop fighting people if they're not really threatening you, but the threat comes from your imagination. That kind of neurosis I really discourage. So my video about the kind of letting go of negative thinking is about letting go of fear. Like I said, I've never liked fear. And I realize that fear is a very large mechanism of what hamstrings all of us. When people kind of say, what's the opposite of love? It's not hate, it's fear. What's the opposite of, like, the opposite of so much good stuff is not fear or hate or anything. It's just, sorry, it's not hate or aggression or anything like that. It's just fear. Most of all the world's problems comes from fear, including a lot of guys thinking about dating and women. Because think about it, your safe place today is being with someone else, or whether it's platonic or romantic, like having that warm campfire of a woman in your life, a relationship, a good friend, having them over for a pizza and a beer, that warm space. And so we want to be comfortable, and the world seems very, very dangerous. Fortis says, no, Labrian says, question, how do you overcome that false guilt lingering inside? If it's false, it's not guilt, it's shame. And the world, and particularly women in relationships, they love shaming you. Because you yourself, if you dryly look at the situation, say you've had an argument, if you look at the situation that's happened that she's blaming you for, you can actually look at it as a third person observing the situation, say, hang on a minute, yeah, I said this, she said that, but overwhelmingly in this situation, I did nothing wrong. Or I was mostly right, and she was mostly wrong. If I describe this situation to anyone, if say for instance, both of us went to a therapist and we both told our side of the story, where would most of the blame be laid? Now, a lot of people like to say, well, we shouldn't be childish, we shouldn't blame. That's another way of avoiding reality. If I have been mostly to blame, I want to own up if I ideally want this situation resolved, right? You can't be a child and say, no, I don't want to feel any bad feelings, and you can't tell me what to do, and this is my truth. It's like, no. Whenever there's a struggle, try and be the third person and look at the situation neutrally as an observer and see where the objective right and wrong lays in the seesaw of, that balance of the situation. So I would say if it's false guilt, then false guilt is shame. Women like to make a guy feel small when they're trying to get their way. You notice that if you're on a point in a debate or an argument, they will kind of, as Bill Burr said, go off-road. They'll try and make you feel bad about something else, or remind you about something you did wrong months ago that's got nothing to do with this situation, or they start crying, whatever it might be, just to induce a particular emotional response where you can apologize or submit, where she feels like, okay, the danger's gone and I feel like I have the upper hand in that. He submitted to me. A woman doesn't like to feel guilty and have the finger pointed at her. In fact, most women can't feel guilt at all because it admits that they're wrong, that they have to say sorry. And how many women have you heard say, "I'm wrong, my bad, I'm sorry." Um, I barely hear it at all. Women taking ownership of that. Women in their own circles, they love shaming each other. That is the mechanism they use to put each other down and feel better about themselves. A lot of them look at women in the schoolyard. Their psychological manipulative games is they feel better by stepping on the necks of other people. In their little groups, this is why women today, they love the fake solidarity of the sisterhood. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's a fake way of them feeling on top of everyone else by using a group. People say that women have an in-group preference. They don't. They don't. They're too individually selfish. They only talk of the sisterhood because of their own self-interest. They don't have an in-group preference with other women. They have a self-interest bias. Women don't care about other women. They care about themselves in the context of other women. They place themselves in the herd of women because they feel safe there and they can feel good as an individual. But they don't give one crap about other women. They have an in-group bias. They have a self-interest bias. They don't have an in-group preference. But I'm sidetracking anyway. Alex, the photographer, says, the first time I managed to stand on a surfboard and ride the whole wave was the best day in my life ever. The anxiety vanished, surfed every day after that. Yeah, something about the ocean, like Quasimandias has mentioned, that you could tell how much the ocean gives to him, how much it refuels him, the relationship has with how much the ocean, that natural world, how much of a relationship it has with him. I've heard it from surfers. I've tried surfing, but I don't love it. I like it, and so the most I've done is bodyboarding. And when I'm alone on a wave and surfing that, I've done it a few times. It's beautiful. I'm just in that moment as well. So yeah, it's I think guys can feel it a bit more because we love connecting with the world, with things. We love doing things. We're explorers. We live a lot more of our lives out there. And it's not like women travel, but they're not really explorers like guys. They like traveling in a very comfortable way. Like it's not that they're explorers. They just kind of like I can't think of the words today. Yeah, they just kind of they love being on holiday. They don't love exploring and being connected to the natural moment, as far as I can see. Quasimandias says, yeah, a base jump doesn't last long enough to really provide the transformative level of trauma it takes to really crush you. About day 3, the brain gives up. Yeah. I think that's why the ocean is such a time-tested way of really teaching a person, calibrating a person properly, because it's a very protracted, long form of associating you with kind of you in the moment. You're right. Base jumping and skydiving is such a short time frame that you can't sit with the moment to be transformed long enough. You have to keep going back over and over again. Whereas being in the ocean or surfing all day or going for a hike in nature, going into the wilderness for weeks or months at a time, and actually staying in that space long enough to be transformed. That's a good point, Quaz. Like sitting in the space long enough to be transformed in a positive way. You know, you have to at least take medicine long enough or in the required dose for it to give you the effect that's needed. Tony says, "Human, have you read Meditations from Marcus Aurelius?" Yep, there's a bear crap in the woods. I think for most guys, that talk like me, if we haven't read Marcus Aurelius, that would be really amazing. That's kind of like people who are really into movies saying, dude, have you watched Star Wars? No. What's that? Have you watched Lawrence of Arabia? No. What's that? Just the guy says the only thing that we have is not the now. Oh, this is today, but the present. But that doesn't exclude the relation between past and future. Now worrying about the future is all that is at all is irresponsible. Sorry, I butchered that. I probably. Anyway, you were responding to Lou not asking me a question. Alpha Gaming says, I've started mentoring younger men and I've learnt a lot. It amazes me how adrift they really are, and it seems to amaze them that I have the same struggles as them. Yeah, that's interesting. Where that it kind of clicks to them. I think that's the moment that they realize this person is like me. He's been through what I've been through. He is potentially me. Then starts to become that clarity of, aha, I can learn from them because they are ostensibly and possibly an older version of me in so many ways. I'm looking at me in the future. And that's why the constructive mentoring by elders that's sorely lost today with young guys is that it could really help a guy in this moment to kind of go, okay, I trust what this guy's saying. He seems like it's me from the future providing little bits of wisdom. Whereas I think a guy gets the sense that the world and women really aren't trying to sort of think of him. The world and women tend to exploit and take what it can because it can't relate to a guy, but another guy can. You've got a lot of guys who are sleazebags and car salesmen today. There are a lot of the most popular channels today are those kind of car salesman type guys that just want to they want to put their hand in your pocket and use you in the same way women do, or not in the same way, in a very different way, but it's still exploitative. But they're not offering you, they're not really wanting to offer wisdom in the way that they're not kind of offering as though, you know, I want to talk to and help a younger version of me. Um, how can I start my own MGTOW channel? But more on the philosophical side, like Stardust and his collabs, Wojak Coltane, Thinking Ape, your content. I suppose you've got a YouTube channel because you can comment on this video. So it's just a matter of just uploading videos, I suppose. Just start. I just wanted to, my thought from the start was I just want to post video journals, if you like, and you let go of caring what other people think, and you're just really just what you'd normally put down on paper, I'm actually just voicing. And for me, I wanted to be able to get better at voicing what I was able to write, because that used to frustrate me, that I was much more articulate and I could be much more sure of myself in the privacy of my head in front of paper with a pen. But that same person was absent, completely absent in front of another person, in front of a woman when she puts you on the spot. You just freeze like a deer in headlights. And that used to really annoy me afterwards. It's like, I know I'm better than that. Why don't I have the mechanisms I do in front of a piece of paper? Why aren't I having the conversations I do when I'm reading Hemingway? Why can't I have that relationship with another person? I can't have it with someone else. What's wrong here? What aren't I finding? What aren't I choosing properly? What aren't I seeing? So it's that constant search, that journey of, I want my internal world to resemble, or put it another way, I want to generate my external world to resemble much more of my healthier internal world. You don't want to make your internal world completely fantastical, right? It's got to be realistic, because if you can start to translate it to your real world, if you can find those kind of people, if you can have a healthier relationship with the external world, like you try and have on paper when you're writing and thinking and reading, that's what I tried to do. That's the realistic approach I kind of take. Because then you start finding people like, oh, I can have a conversation. I found this one person I can start talking to and thinking and conversing with, like I do with when I read my favorite books, when I write. I can start to find those people. You start to generate your life that way. There are so many sort of lemmings out there that just kind of watch reality TV, and you kind of get a sense that I feel like I'm alone. If that's the only people that exist, there must be other people like me. Probably the major plus of online social media and all this stuff that has been very detrimental to sort of society and relating to each other, has been that we've been able to connect with other people around the world. Because I started my YouTube channel because I wasn't able really in the little world I have, the people I bump into in my routines, from the shopping center to work to family and friends, the well is pretty dry on these kind of discussions where I really find a lot of life. So I had to go and create that world, try and find, because it's important to me. It's such a big part of my life that generates a lot of joy and life and interest. I can't just kind of be in my own head. I want to make it real. I want to find other people where I can progress that kind of world and thinking. Quasimandias says, it might surprise some, but I was ultra anxious as a young guy. So was I, man. This is the funny thing. I think people like you and I, people think like, oh, you were always like that. No, the more I know myself and I meet people like Quaz, and I go, that makes sense, because I can imagine the anxious guy who needs answers. He goes to books, he goes to pen and paper. He doesn't want to be afraid. He wants to make sense of the world. He wants real. He has a will to, he doesn't want to feel in that state of anxiety and feel alone. He wants to find something. And then you start finding that stuff. Then you start finding little bits and pieces that fix the puzzle of you. So it doesn't surprise me, Quaz. Like, I totally believe that, because that was a lot of my journey as well. He continues, I was ultra anxious as a young guy. I beat that mostly by throwing myself in a pit of lack of control, i.e. the ocean. It works. It's traditional. Yeah, that too. Start taking little recoverable risks where logically, you're not going to die. You're just going to be tested. Test yourself, test yourself, test yourself. It kind of toughens your skin. It's pretty good. And this is the thing. A lot of guys today, especially about relationships, like, I don't want to get anywhere near that. I don't want the worst thing to happen. Well, again, if you really want, you're curious about some part of life, you really want to do something, it's the difference between jumping out of a plane or jumping out of a plane with a well-packed parachute that you pack, and you've done everything you can to be experienced in packing it and trained. So a lot of guys think, well, the only way to have a relationship is to jump out of a plane. That's it. No. If you really want a relationship and you're not lying to yourself and you do want that, but you're avoiding it, train, research, plan, and do everything you can to overcome your fears and jump out of a plane, if that's what you really want to do, with a well-packed parachute. Look at Quaz and his videos about planning and navigation and all that kind of stuff, The map and the territory, guys. Again, we're fear and laziness. It's going to keep your life very, very dull. Hey, Mr. Highway. Mr. Highway says, guys need to give themselves permission to live life. Yes, except that you'll most likely be going it alone, and that's okay. Yeah, you go on your journey alone, but you do meet people. But if you stay there in your little cave, you meet no one. You find nothing out. You don't. For the longest time, I didn't like traveling. And then when it came to a point where a friend and with exes, they kind of force you out of your bubble. It's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It's like, okay. And then all of a sudden you admit to yourself, look, they're asking me to go with them on this journey or to go traveling, but the place they're going, I can't deny it. It actually seems really cool. Let me just go. So of my own volition, I don't want to spend the time, money, and effort, but because you're going with someone you care about or a group of people, it's like, all right, I'll go. What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to have a good time with these people. Then you find out, hey, I've poked my head out of the tortoise shell a bit. This is actually a bit of fun. I was just being ultra safe. Like when your life feels dull, a lot of times is we're being too safe, and we're not really living. You're staying safe, and you're just waiting to die. EOS Log says, would you consider yourself more deontological, i.e. there are objective moral values? Objective moral values like Kantian moral imperative? Was it Kant that said that? Who did the moral imperative? I can't remember. Anyway. Or utilitarian, the end of any action ultimately justifies the means. Ooh, that's tricky. That's contextual as well. Because sometimes I'm utilitarian. Mostly I'd say I'd lean towards more deontological. Oh, actually, no. That's tricky. My mind keeps thinking of different situations. I think it's contextual, man. It's not absolutely one or the other. Good question, EOS Logs. Feral Android says, that's why I love long distance running. The pain keeps you present and the endorphins in the sense of accomplishment when you're done. Yep. I like long distance running, but also you got to be careful. Like the longer you run, the longer the distance you run, the more your body starts producing not oxytocin. What's the fight or flight hormone? Serotonin? No, that's feel good. That's the love hormone. My brain's awful this morning. What's wrong with it? Cortisol. The coffee did it. Yeah, the longer distance you run, you start producing more and more cortisol. They say that the optimal is short runs, like less than an hour, less than 45 minutes, something like that. That's when you start to, the exponential rate of producing cortisol just goes up and up and up, because now your body has depleted a lot of its resources, and now it's kind of running on fumes. And so then the cortisol's produced, like it's like your body thinks it's in danger because it's depleting more than it's gone past the midpoint or something like that. And then you produce cortisol, fight or flight, anxiety. Your testosterone starts being blocked, not produced. Yeah, it's interesting though. But yeah, I love jogs and walks because they put you in a meditative state. That's another thing that puts you in the moment. Although, when I am in a meditative state, I can start to think, but it's safe to think. Like I come up with a lot of ideas for videos and essays, and from when I do go for jogs, and sometimes when you're in the shower, when you're placed in meditative states. Just a guy says, can you relax while surfing in shark-infested waters? You're in the moment. I can guarantee that. The only thing you're thinking about is the sharks. David says, do you think that if you were a billionaire, you can keep a woman? Oh, easy. But then that's the problem, isn't it? Isn't it? That's like, if you're intelligent and a billionaire, which you probably would unless you got your billions handed down to you. You could keep a woman with billions of dollars easily. Keep her. But again, if you're more philosophically inclined and if you feel alive when you've got a grasp on reality, then it's very hard to believe that she's with you or she loves you for any other reason other than the safety and the money that you provide. You can never know. No, thank you very much for the super chat donation, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for the positive comments. Human Love Solidarity says, Dad said, write down your thoughts for your loved one. It can be used in court later. Yeah, real name's not given says, just make sure she didn't pack the parachute. And then your chances exist, yeah. Think about in relationships when she's leading you and asking you to jump off certain planes. And it's like, trust me, I packed your parachute. Why do you need to check your parachute? Don't you trust me? Make sure you make your own decisions. And know when... Start writing down the cliche things that women put you on the spot on and that try and shame you. Know how to answer them. My first answer whenever I'm put on the spot is I go straight to, hey, I've got a right to an opinion. Stop pushing me. Let me think about it. That's the impulse. Even if I can't remember the lines, is I realize that the person's pressuring me. They don't give me time to answer, or I have to answer exactly the way they want. Like they're saying, human, what do you need to think for? Don't you trust me? It's like, I'm allowed to make this decision. Relax. This is an important thing. I want to be responsible properly. So let them know how pushy they're being. Or throw the example back to them. It's like, how would you like me pressuring you about something where you can't make a decision? Relax. Know how to answer questions when you're pressured. It's an uncomfortable decision. Practice lines. Write them down so you know how to answer them. Yeah, we've got over 200 people on. That's nice. Tony says, human, I have lived with 8 females. All left or cheated on me, and I am 6'5" and I score easy, but I am too much of a giver, cannot fake frame, so alone now. Yeah. I think I'm a fairly agreeable, relaxed guy. I don't push people. I don't require a lot of women. I've actually had to learn to have needs, not fake ones, but it's like the internal is like, I can do that. Like the internal impulse is always with women is like, make their world comfortable. Don't ask them to lift a finger. Don't ask them to do anything for you because they're happy with it when they're taken care of. But it can't be a one-way street. You have to learn to ask for little things as well because you actually feel reaffirmed. You can actually see them caring. Like, can you get me some water, or can you do this for me? Can you pick this up for me? It's nice when they make a meal for you, but actually asking them to make a meal, which today is taboo. Today it's offensive to ask a woman to do anything for you, but you can't just believe women are angels and they love you. This is what they try and ask of you. With your male friends, it's easier because we're human doings. Men do a lot. So we do a lot in our external lives to actually show without even having to ask. We know our friends are our friends because we just do stuff all the time for each other. Men do things for ourselves, for other men. we cooperate that way. Women don't want to lift a finger. So they sell you the idea that women are so loving, you don't even have to ask for anything. They just are that way. No, they're not. In fact, most of them are the opposite, and they sell you the propaganda that they're fantastic. They're better than anyone. They're perfect angels. They're not. Just ask them to do something for you, especially when they really don't benefit proximally for that. Women will benefit. This is the stupid thing they don't realize is they benefit later on when they do things for you. For you, they get it back because the relationship feels better for them. Most women feel empty and lost and never loved because they don't give anything. Love for anything, people or your things, say your hobbies. If you don't put effort, you don't get anything back. If I don't make a conscious effort towards the things I love doing, not people, let's remove people for a moment. If I don't actually lift a finger, get off my ass and do something and put in effort and love the thing doesn't love me back. All of the skills I've developed through video, writing, illustration, music, I have given into the impulse to want to learn, to submit to it, to absorb it, to tinker with it. I give my time and attention and effort towards it because I trust that it'll give me back. When it doesn't, then you drop it, fine. Or you see the limits of, okay, this isn't for me. But women, they don't want to give anything. Then they sit there with their arms crossed and thinking like, why aren't I loved? It's not why aren't you loved? Why don't you love? The second stage is you get loved back, but you have to make an effort. So, like business, you got to invest money to make money. You can't, like this kind of get rich quick where you win the lottery. Like, oh, I'm loved. Oh, I'm rich. Doesn't work that way. You got to relate to whatever you love, whether it's a person or a thing. But I can kind of relate to a little bit of that Tony said. He's lived with 8 females. I haven't lived with 8 females, but I've had 5 serious relationships. And yeah, I'm objectively, I'd say I'm a fairly relaxed, nice guy. Friends, family, people around me have reflected that. I'm not just kind of solipsistically putting tabs on myself. I'm not saying I'm perfect or I'm great. I'm not good for everyone. But I've actually had exes where it hadn't worked, saying that my problem was I was too nice. There you go. I was too nice of a boyfriend. I remember wanting to cause arguments, and I'd laugh at her. I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "You annoy me. You're so calm." It's like I gotta get through this shell. Like you can't be this well-adjusted. You can't be this level-headed. Yeah, that didn't end well because she liked drama. She had a lot of problems she hadn't dealt with. Let's put it that way. AI Matrix says, I know I'm insecure. Well, at least you've got the awareness to know that. Yes, Quasimandias, I knew you'd come. Can't is the categorical imperative. That's what I was looking for. Which is utilitarian but universal. This is why it's the best. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the categorical imperative is a social version of the individual golden rule. You know, treat other people the way you want to be treated. The categorical imperative is people should treat other people the way people should be treated. So it's more like an external social version of the proximal individual version of the golden rule, if that makes sense. I hope I didn't butcher that. It'd be nice if that was the way Quas. It would be nice if the categorical imperative was practical, but it's not. Or it's very, very rare. That's funny. Quaz says sharks kill fewer people than coconuts. That's hilarious. Look, not hilarious as in killing people, but the same as when they give you stats what people are really afraid of. Oh, I'm afraid of flying. It's like, do you know how many people get killed by coconuts or car accidents compared to plane crashes or anything like that? Roman says, I heard in March there is a big Elvis exhibition coming to Bendigo direct from Graceland. Bendigo's about an hour and a half out of Melbourne. Years ago, I wouldn't have gone on my own, but now a few months shy of 55 and single ticket bought. We change. We not that we soften, but we get out of our own way and give in to what we really want to do. Do what you want to do, guys, what you really want to do. Stop being comfortable if comfortable doesn't feel comfortable anymore. Most of us are operating on old patterns. Most of us are in jobs that the 18-year-old us chose for us. Think about that. You're probably miserable because you passed that season. You're still living in spring, but your life wants to live in autumn or winter if you're much older. Live in the season that your body's telling you to live in. Robert says, why would I want one woman if I was a billionaire? That's a question I posed in an older video. If you won the lottery, people say, would you leave your job? Here's an important question to know, that if you're in the right person, with the right person, or if you have the right friends or social environment, if you're living the right way. If you won the lottery, would you stay with your current partner? How much would you change your life? Honestly, like really, say, like I just won the lottery. I won $80 million. Would you stay with the same person? Obviously, like I'd probably change the house I'd live in and my environment. I'd change where I call home and, sharpen that a bit. But ultimately, are you living the way you want to live? And if it really doesn't have to do anything with money, why don't you make the change now? You don't need the lottery to make fundamental changes of your life. You can change the window dressing, like I said. I'd upgrade my home, maybe. But you can change everything else without the lottery. Again, it's just fear. Fear of the unknown. Why is that saying so popular? I wish I would have done it earlier. And it really doesn't have anything to do with money. I hope the audio sounds okay. I got a new mixer. It's a bit of a learning curve to get to know this, to adjust the audio to sound as good as I got the last one. Oh, the last one I was using a Go XLR, and now I'm using a Rodecaster Pro, which is a step up. A nice step up, but I'm still getting used to it. Yeah, Roman says, it's not offensive to ask a woman to drag you into the HR office and see their degree on full display as they tell you off like a naughty schoolboy. This is the other thing. Why? I think it's something I'm going to make in an upcoming video. How to stand up for yourself in terms of, especially with women. One thing I never liked is whenever a woman puts you on the spot, or your girlfriend sort of tries to make you feel bad. Why do you feel like a 5-year-old that can't speak? Ask yourself. And what do you need to do to not feel like that? How do you need to train yourself to respond the way you do, openly, to voice your opinion, and not be shamed like you do around your friends and family and on your own. Why, when the women in your life, or women in public, women in the media, anywhere, but especially your girlfriend, the woman you're with, when she intentionally tries to put you down and shame you, why does she succeed in making you feel like a 5-year-old that slumps his shoulders and doesn't speak up to mummy? Ask yourself. Uh, Xamen 2020 says, the only thing I've ever asked from my ex-partner is to give me a photo of my son, and she says she hasn't got the time. Ah, what a wretch. This is what I don't like. I think people have different kind of things that really get their back up. Mine is blatant rudeness and unfairness. That's my big kind of reactive sort of thing. When you've got a woman that's not just obnoxious, mean, and cruel, but she uses her own child or your child as a tool. She lies and uses the most sacred things to help her lie with a straight face and a smile. I have no sympathy for them when they say, oh, but you know, we've got to understand her. She had an abusive child. I don't care. Throw her in the fire. I can't stand people who intentionally lie. Like people, like, you know, guys have talked in the manosphere about false, you know, RAPE charges when women sort of file them, and then it's shown that they were lying, and then we excuse them because, oh, you know, they were afraid and they cry. It's like, no, give them the exact punishment they were willing to lie about to give you. They were willing to let you go to jail, your life being ruined, your reputation's now ruined. Give them the exact punishment they were lying about. That is willful. I don't care about your childhood trauma. I have no right, no matter what I've been through in my life, to treat people, strangers that have done nothing to me, as a way of balancing the scales. They did nothing. Go to the source. If your mother or your father or someone, you want justice, go to the source and have a talk with them. Balance the scales with the person that perpetrated it. Do not kind of say, well, I'm just this way, you know, I've got these scars, so that's my get out of jail free card. No. If you willfully were going to use a person and wipe your backside with them, you get your back, you're wiped. You're used to wipe the backside as well. You know what I mean? So you go to jail. You get the punishment you were in a giddy fashion, or if in a cowardly fashion, you were wanting to throw a person's life away with. Like, you get that punishment. Oh, but I'm just a girl and this happened to me and I was abused. I don't care. I don't care. All of us I could come up with creative excuses. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty creative. I could come up with a lot of verbal, linguistic, and creative excuses to make a person feel horrible. I could punish a person. I could come up with a lot of ideas. I'm pretty creative. What kind of a person does that make me? And then, do I really have an excuse of complaining about how people treat me? I just really can't stand it. That's why I like philosophy, because it's consistent. If it's good for me, it's good for others. If it's right for me, it has to be right for others. If it's right for A, it must be right for B. Clavius Magnus says, sorry for the previous message. Upgrading your Bible is not that easy. How would you go about it? First, have an interest in being the author of. So it's not about upgrading. Look, if you're essentially a person that really doesn't have the mechanism of interest of philosophy, self-reflection, and all that, you don't want to start writing your own Bible, as in writing your own moral philosophy. Then you need to start reading widely so you can get informed by people that are more like you, that speak your language, that have the words and thoughts that you wish you had, but you're just not that person. But I'd say you first need to have a self-interest. A person can't drag you to have a moral philosophy. Otherwise, you're just like I said, most people just need a moral philosophy given to them. Most people are sheep. And if you're honest enough to admit you're more of a sheep than your own leader, then at least that's being honest. But too many people pretend they love the title of being their own author, of being their own leader, and as such, they try and instruct other people. They tell each other what to do. Mr. Highway says, it's true that women will never be satisfied, but men should understand that they aren't that different. The default human state is discontent. We expect women to behave as goddesses when they are animals. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. But yeah, our misconception is that women, because they paint themselves, because they're so aloof and they don't say much, we think from a young age, like we're nervous guys that need to know what to say to get to women. And women seem like these controlled, very aloof, calm creatures that seem to have it figured out, and they mature faster than boys. And we kind of feel that we're always inferior. We have to do more, say more, be better, be smarter, and they're always so much better than us. We see women rolling their eyes. It's like, oh, if I have to explain it to you, and we always feel like, oh, we're dumb. We need to do better. We need to figure out what they're thinking. We need to get, like, we can't even guess the elementary things that they're rolling their eyes about. Like, why are men that dumb and clueless? Why can't we read the signs? No, when you start to realize they are hiding. It's like reading the signs won't do. Verbalize what you want. Oh, you don't get it. Tell me why I don't get it. Please articulate it to me. Oh, I can't be bothered. Like, you're too clueless. You're too dumb. No. If you can't articulate it, if you're not intelligent enough to verbalize what you want and exactly what I'm doing wrong and why whatever I do is somehow wrong to you, I'm not the stupid one here. I'm not the irrational one here. Stop trying to shame me with your, your lexical ambiguity. Stop pretending to be smarter than me. Feral Male says, I always assume women like to infantilize their men because they haven't had kids yet. Misplaced, misdirected maternal instinct. Yeah, I've often thought this too. And also, yeah, because I think that's the instinct. They like to make their men submit to them. It's an instinct, even though that's not good for women. They'll never be happy when they're above the man in their life. But it's this maternal inclination to, but also on the other hand, I think that a lot of men infantilize their woman to prepare them for kids too. So it's this dance that men and women do unconsciously that really all it does is serve the proximal need, that 3-month or whatever the honeymoon period is, to produce a child, and then the relationship dissolves and breaks apart. If you're conscious about what works and what doesn't, do not give in to leading your relationship by its primal instincts, those unconscious ones. Be aware of them. Be aware of how human beings operate, men and women, human nature, like male nature, female nature. But do not say, oh, this feels good, so I'm going to go with it. A woman says, oh, this feels good, I'm going to try and dominate and nag my partner by a misplaced maternal instinct, so I feel like a mother. But you're not feeling like a girlfriend or a wife or a woman. You're trying, this is probably a good way to sum it up. You are trying to feel like a mother before you get to feel like a wife or a girlfriend. You are trying to kind of get that, feel like the 10th step ahead of the relationship before you've even felt the first few steps that are essential to make your world having a child work. You need to know what it's like to feel like a well-adjusted, working girlfriend, wife, partner before you can jump towards making your husband feel like a misplaced son. Same with guys. They try and make their girlfriends or wives feel like their daughters. Those are guys who are very maternal. I never have, and it's probably because I'm not wired to have kids. I am biologically wired for you guys who automatically sort of biological determinists. I mean that I'm not consciously that kind of guy. The choices I make is like, whoa, no, I don't want that. I don't want that at all, ever. Remember, if you want to ask questions, guys, make sure you put a whole bunch of emojis before your question. Roman says, human, a good example of defeated men is just go down to the local supermarkets and have a look at those so-called happy gentlemen lagging behind their partner's shoulders, slumped, and the look of defeat. And the screaming kids. The battle cry of a defeated man is the screaming, uncontrolled children of a man. Like you see, when you see these married couples that make me think, oh, thank God I was conscious enough not to choose that, to push that away from my life, is that the woman's leading that relationship. You can tell the whole dynamic, the sound, the leadership, whose voice is present. She's at the front, the children are second, and he's right at the back. Like, even if they've got a dog, the dog is before the man. So the hierarchy of those relationships are, yeah, woman, child, dog, man. Okay, guys, we've been going for just over an hour. Let's get any final questions in. If you guys want to ask any final questions or super chats, make sure you leave them in the comments and make them stand out, just so that I can answer them, so I don't not see them. And I'll have a look and read some of the comments under the last video. What's the weather like where you guys are? It's a beautiful day here. For once, we've had really high winds the last few days in Melbourne. So much so it's blown down fences, like really torrential, you know, just below cyclone style wind. Ridiculous. Silver Fox mentioned, you're scratching the surface of Buddhist teachings, which is good. All suffering comes from attachments and aversions. But you are misguided when you said emotion must trump logic. No, I'm not saying it must. I said it does. Especially today. When a person's operating completely off emotion, you can't sit there talking to a screaming animal. You can't have a conversation with a wild animal. I tried to make the point of emotion must walk away from that situation. Logic must walk away from that situation. Emotion must calm down and have the ability to at least discuss a bit or occupy the same space that logic can occupy. But it can't just be all emotional. You'll get nowhere. All right, guys, any final questions? Labrian says, I used to hear my ex say to her kids that this is a dictatorship, not a democracy. And I used to shake my head knowing that kid has to endure that. Look, I agree that the kids need to listen to the parents, but the parents need to sort of be clear and be a voice of authority and discipline. They need to teach the kids. But you can't just say, because I told you so. You need to give the kid a kind of an understanding of cause and effect. You need to mature them. You need to make them understand why. And then follow through with your discipline too. Mr. Highway says, I actually like grocery shopping, but doing it with a girl is torture. Yeah, I love grocery shopping. It's one of my guilty pleasures. It's really relaxing. I just love wandering through the aisles and, getting my list. I remember I was with an ex many, many years ago, decades ago, where I remember we had a massive fight after going to the supermarket because she didn't like how I was just really enjoying myself walking in front of her and looking at this and that, and I was ignoring her. I was like completely lost going through the aisles, and she hated that I forgot about her. I think she wanted to sort of be in front with the shopping trolley and dictating what we were going to buy. But I was like a kid in a candy store. I love grocery shopping. Is it a hunter-gatherer thing? I'm not sure. Tony says, Human, do you still try to talk the cold approach? I would imagine women would like the stoic mindset initially, but long-term, your thoughts? I'm not sure what you mean. Do I still try to talk / cold approach? As in talk to women? No, I don't cold approach women really anymore. Gone are those days. My kind of interest is trying to get a woman has really, really waned. Again, this is what women are going to understand. Like, they think that men are going to be frothing at the mouth, chasing them like they have been through their 20s and maybe 30s. Men's desire for women wanes heavily in midlife. But women I think also because they think so highly of themselves, and because in the past, like men always have, so why wouldn't this continue in the future? I think that's why a lot of them won't admit and get angry at like, why don't men where have all the good men gone? Men have become lazy. No, we're not interested anymore. Testosterone goes down, and we've played that game. Like, I used to skateboard when I was younger too. I lost interest in that. Some of you guys still surf. Surfing is something that's timeless though. Like, you can surf from when you're young to when you're old, or sailing. Something to do when you're connected to a more natural environment. You can do it for longer. But again, women have become very unnatural now. So they're not a natural environment. So it's very easy to lose interest in them. They don't resemble anything natural. Guys, try and I can't understand what some of your sentences are. Maybe you're writing it on the phone, but I can't make sense of some of your comments. Feral Android, thank you very much for the super chat donation. He says, always sunny in Aloha Land. Ooh, Hawaii. Thanks again, Human. That is one place I wouldn't mind going to, Hawaii. That is definitely a place I'd love to stay at for a couple of weeks and just chill out and make it up as I go. Quasimandiah says, terrifying success is doing what you find valuable. Everything else is garbage. Amen, man. Amen. Do the scary thing that you know you should do, but you're resisting. Even if it's really, really scary, but you know on paper, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah, you can get bruised, but you're going to survive. And especially if it's something really terrifying but attractive, try to do it as safely and plan to do it as best you can, so the chances of a really bad outcome are minimized. It's okay to get bruised. Just jump out of a parachute, jump out of a plane with a parachute if that's what you ideally want to do, but you're always avoiding and you're scared of. Don't just jump out of a plane. That's the lesson. Smart Guy says, exactly, Human. Once the testosterone drops a little, men can see things more clearly. It's liberating. Or if you've got the courage to see things earlier and take risks and speak up for yourself and defend the things you believe in your life, you know what's you, then you can actually, it can come slightly before the testosterone drops. And then when the testosterone drops, it's very clear. So my philosophical curiosity started well before my 30s. And so by the time my biology started to make it easier for my mind to calibrate my moral philosophy, I had that advantage. So I would encourage more guys. That's why I say to read and write and understand themselves. So then you'll have a big benefit by the time your biology naturally makes it easier for you to see things in life away from women. Mr. Highway says, grocery shopping is why me and one of my exes fought really bad. It was too many decisions for her to make. She couldn't handle it. I saw how women acted when they are spoiled for choice. That's actually a good insight. You see how women act when they're spoiled for choice. Yeah, a Western supermarket with like 50 different choices of peanut butter really kind of show you what the modern woman is like and where she gets irritated. MGTAW Cowboy says, Human, may I ask your opinion of TRT or testosterone replacement therapy? Thinking about trying it. I think there's a lot of benefits, health benefits for men who do that kind of therapy. Here in Australia, it's not allowed, so I can't speak to it. But also, you've got to contend with what it gives you back. It gives you back your uncontrolled desire for women. You're more horny. So again, it can give you a lot of problems too. So it can take you away from the mind and back to the primitive, uncontrolled state of your youth that you have to contend with. So, but in terms of health, there are a lot of health benefits I've heard. But then again, do you want to live like a young man, or do you just want to live well? Be very clear what you're doing and how you're changing your life, though. T-Dog says, Human, any advice on not sleeping in too late, staying up too late? Thanks. I'm the wrong person to ask. That's one battle I'm always trying to win, and I rarely win. I'm most productive at night. I love going for midnight runs when everyone's asleep. So basically, I should calibrate my life and my sleeping patterns to the normie. But really, I'm most productive and I feel most in my element when I'm staying up late and getting up late. But I should, for health reasons, learn to go to bed earlier and get up earlier. So yeah, I'm still trying to get my circadian rhythm in check. Angren is Angry says, how are people surprised when a guy no longer cares about women who become problems on legs? Yeah, like when you see a magic trick the first time, women are a magic trick that irritates you when you're young and you're trying to figure them out because they're so mesmerizing and everything in you just wants this thing that you don't understand and it's beautiful. It's like an uncontrolled dog that you feel a connection to. But if the dog or the thing or the magic trick just continues to frustrate you more and more and more, and then the entertainment value just disappears. Like the stress value far exceeds the entertainment value. It's like when you go to the gym, right? A man can put in the work, the pain, but then after a while he sees the benefits, what the pain gives back. A bit of effort and pain, these are the results, and this is great. The results I get from this effort and pain far exceed the pain threshold. And so then you start to see the benefit of the pain. Then you start liking the pain in a very low level, masochistic way. But the overriding benefits are great. Women is like you don't understand why you're drawn to this pain, this beautiful pain. But then all of a sudden it just becomes pain. And then you check yourself when you're older, midlife, is like, why the hell am I doing this? Like I'm a masochist. I'm getting off on she's a dominatrix and I'm a sub and she's whipping me and I'm saying like, sorry, mistress. Mr. Highway says, I'm in bed by 9. Good for you, man. I got to be more like you. I got to get my circadian rhythm more in check like yours. No wonder you find it hard with women. With you've got your physical and mental world that seems in check, Mr. Highway. I can imagine how frustrating a woman would be to you. Like she'd see you as like, this guy's perfect. And then she gets into your life. It's like, this guy frustrates me because I'm not perfect and I can't fit in with him. All right, guys, any last questions? Let's wrap it up. This was a nice, short and sweet stream. It's an hour and a half, which is exactly kind of where I don't want it to go too far over. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the last video. I really enjoyed making it. My last video, how I let go of negative thinking. What happened was I've been trying to make a different video all week, and I've done 3 attempts and all 3 failed. Technical difficulties, out of focus camera, a few times where I just wasn't feeling it. I felt very mechanical and clunky, and I needed to redo it. And then what I said is, okay, let's go to a different state. This isn't working, let me try something different. In the same way, if the writing's not working, I try and make music, or I try and do art, or I draw or something. I took the same approach with making videos. I say, okay, my normal method of making videos and this topic just isn't working. Let me do something completely different. Let me switch on the camera. First, what I did was I went on the comments and I read a few comments, and one comment pricked my thought about letting go of resistance and how to let go of stress and make your life better so you can think clearer and your life is better. And I thought, let me just turn the camera on and freestyle this, and let's just see what happens. Let me take a completely different approach. And then I just kind of I wrote 3 points, quick points, and I was just going to talk as long as I could on this and just feel like I'm having a conversation with one person. I actually wrote down, pretend no one's going to watch this. And I made that last video like that. It actually turned out okay. I didn't know how it was going to be taken, but apparently a lot of you guys thought it was good. So I'm going to do more of those videos where they're just a bit more conversational. I'm not going to go into too depth academically, which is sometimes I have a leaning towards that because I really want to make sure I'm respecting the topic. So I make sure I write and rewrite and investigate that very central point. But I think sometimes what most guys need is just a casual conversation about the topic. Let's just see where it goes. And then in the comments and in streams like this and in chats, we can just expand the conversation. I don't need to get it perfect. You don't need to get it perfect. What we need to do is let it absorb, and we need to discuss it with each other. It doesn't need to be an academic airtight thesis, although that can help in the privacy of you or when you read something. But I think what most guys need today, because there's a lack of mentoring, a lack of honest, open conversation between men, is let's just chat about something very important. Let's just shoot the breeze with a beer, that kind of thing. That thing is sorely lacking. And so I'm going to try and do more of those off-the-cuff videos because you guys like them. Yeah, Silver Bullet said, the last video was awesome, human. It made me think. And I think I was told that guys, some friends and people in my life told me they liked that last video because it actually showed me just relaxing and thinking in real time. It wasn't as scripted, and you could actually see me hanging out with you, having a conversation, and in real time, just coming up with my thoughts as I spoke them. And maybe it gives you an example of how I go about things and how you might be able to kind of let go and just think about these topics and have discussions with your own friends or in front of yourself. Switch the microphone on, switch the camera on, just talk to yourself and look back on it. See how you speak. See how clumsy you might come off. See where you need to be better. I think all those things are beneficial. Just the guy says, I think it's better when you write and rewrite. So see, there you go. Some people like my other videos. So don't worry, I'm not going to get rid of my normal videos. But I think there's a really relaxed positive to my last casual video. So I'm going to try and do both. So I'm always like, when I have ideas, I can't help but write them and rewrite them and get my video down to like a few little scripted points. But also when that's not working, the last kind of video, I feel like it resonated with a lot of you guys. So don't worry, I'm not going to get rid of my usual videos. I've just found another easy tool to throw in that's applicable and enjoyable for you guys. But anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day or night for the most of you out there. And yeah, think better, learn to speak better, and stand up for what you believe. And most importantly, don't stay in echo chambers. Don't surround yourself by trolls and people wanting to fight the world. Fight yourself in the most compassionate way that works. If you know what I mean. Not like that you should have an argument with yourself, but realize where you're arguing with yourself and adjust that so you can have a better relationship with yourself, not fight yourself. So have a good day or night, and I will catch you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye.